back, it affected all 14 computers and they were all blown off and all the work was lost.
Part of our demands, we're requesting government employs people who have been in the public sector servicing on contractual basis. We would like those people to be absorbed.
People are just parking their vehicles at the parking area for jolling types, for jolling.
We cannot give each and every advice. It's
all about one accepting that they are wrong. And if someone doesn't accept that there's wrong, no one is going to change.
The mandate of the South African Cultural Observatory is obviously to conduct research and to bring together various stakeholders in the sector.
Once the bank has actually granted the bond, it requires both of us to actually be on the title deed. I cannot assist you to qualify for a bond when I'm not the owner of the property.
Monday to Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. with Colin Hams. The discussion, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. on Jozi FM.
Moretsi molatedi motsegetsi wa le khubula moratwana 5.8 ke go amogela jalo motsotso fela go tswa ureng ya bosupa dipisano tsa ntlha mo bekeng mogaetso re simolola jalo bile re lebella the minority parties in the city of Johannesburg will this afternoon brief members of the media se ba dirile jalo mogaetso on the latest development in the city of Johannesburg. Briefing here mogaetso will also give an update on the state of coalition with the African National Congress and the role of the minority in government. In I'm now joined by Councillor Lubabalo Magwentshu. Kestswana. Kesxhosa. Aw tata. Hey, shin. Ibongo zenu utasifana sethu zabatswana.
Hayi khona into omnyama ekugcineni uya
into umuntu yami tata.
Yeah.
And how did the afternoon pen, because I saw you very busy on the telly the whole day.
Yes.
What's happening in the city of Johannesburg? Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. In the city of Johannesburg right now, there are various developments.
Mm-hmm.
As seniors, also, we've been there. We've had a mayor that was removed on the 28th of September. Mm-hmm. The issues went to court and the court overturned the decision, and then the mayor that we had elected, Utata Amararo, had to approve again.
Mm-hmm.
So now, the issue currently is more on the financial state of the city.
Mm-hmm.
The city is in a financial crisis, in the sense that there's even a possibility that employees might not even be paid. Already, our SMMEs have not been paid. The SMMEs in Eldos that have not been paid because of these issues. Now, the council is going to be sitting on Friday. And when it sits on Friday, it is to consider a request for an approval of a loan from DBSA.
Of 2 billion?
Of 2 billion,
2 billion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the issue with that is to say, why do we need this loan?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can have a facility that is available for you as and when you want to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue that we are having is that this contract was given to the MMC of Finance, MMC Sudabi, already in June.
Mm-hmm.
So you had June, July, August, September. This never served in council. Now, all of a sudden, it comes in as an agency report. And remember, the money that you would normally get from DPSA is for developmental purposes. That's why we would want money from DPSA. Now, what we are then saying is that, okay, it's fine. Let us be taken into confidence as to why the need for this facility. Yes. Especially under these urgent bases when there are issues. And this already was sitting with the MMC in June already. Why was it not tabled then? And even before June, remember now, the contract was given to the municipality in June, but surely there were negotiations that happened prior to that contract being drafted. So which means already there was an understanding that there will be this contract
coming into the city.
Why was it not tabled into council? Why now? And already the city, the reason why the city is in a financial mess is because there's been lack of collection. Now, we're saying if you cannot collect, you've not been able to collect revenue in the past 12 months, how do you expect to do it in 6 months? Because this loan, if you take it, you must pay it back by the 30th of June, together with interest.
With interest.
And now that gives you only 6 months. So what we are saying is that yes, when you looking for imali from OTPSA, it is because you want to make sure that you are able to manage your cash flows. You see, but it's got to be clear, especially now that there's an agency, because we need not just willy-nilly approve this when now, it was sitting with the MMC for
such a long time. Now, let me find out that.
Yes.
Besides who takes the seat, let's pretend the seat is vacant.
Yes.
Is there an urgent need for a cash injection in the city of Johannesburg, or there's no need at all?
You see, that is where the issue is. Because from where we are standing, given the example that I've given you of SMMEs that have not been paid, it's clear that there is a need. But when the MMC and the mayor go to a media briefing, they are saying, no, it is not that bad. As a result, they've promised to have a media briefing sometime this week, talking about that. So we are saying we don't want to go into that meeting with blinkers. We need to understand, when you're saying cash flow mismatches, what are those cash flow mismatches? If you get this, what will then be the plan to pay it back? Because it's got to be paid back
next year June.
With interest, yes. So that is where the challenge is.
Now, we need to also get to a point. We're just going to go forward just deliberately.
Yes.
Let's say the Friday you meet and another vote of no confidence gets to be staged.
Yes.
For this type of, should I call it shenanigans?
Yes.
I don't know what is the perfect word.
Yes.
Then if that goes well, then come Monday maybe,
yes,
another mayor comes in, the status quo remains the same, Tata. The money still needed. The money still needs to be paid back in June with interest. What is the interim thinking to say, come, rain or shine?
When you look at these things, you've got to have a broader view. The first question is, was DPSA the only available financial institution that could perhaps help us? And was it, in terms of the interest rate, was it competitive? So there are all those factors that need to be considered. We are not saying we're not going to approve it, but we're saying before we approve it, we need to understand is
it a case where we also are subjected to give 3 codes, to say, give us 3 codes, let's do comparison, let's see this versus this, then we can then settle on a better option? Is that the case?
That is one of the cases. But before you even get to that,
check the need for this.
Yes. You first need to check the need, is to say what the need. Because in May, In May, there was about 675 million that we also got from TPSA.
The same TPSA.
The same TPSA.
So now you suspect foul play?
Not ready to say we suspect foul play, because you know the MMC should be the one giving us that to say why do I need this? Why am I not able to pay SMMEs? Then when we've got that, it gives us confidence as well to say, okay, here is the challenge. We know about the challenge. We are not speculating. Because we're talking about imali yabantu land.
So what's happening in the coalition is there's no fair play, there's no open cut,
yes,
there's no what do you call it, transparency.
Yes, true.
And so in this situation, there are those who might know the real status of the city and keep quiet for certain benefits. So
look for instance, when the mayor, the current mayor, when she was removed on the 28th of September, and the new mayor came in, it was then discovered that the city is 5 billion under, meaning sitting at a deficit of 5 billion. As a result of that, we had to approve in council a facility from Standard Bank, a facility of our runabout. It was actually an extension. It was already there, but it was just an extension of that facility, which is also
like simple language overdraft.
Yes, overdraft. Yes, yes, true. So we discovered that. So already the view that was there was that the city is in a financial, in a sound financial footing, whereas in actual fact that is not the case. So that is where now transparency comes in.
Now, the biggest question one has this evening is, how will you bring yet another motion of no confidence against the executive mayor?
It's ready. The motion is ready. It will be submitted by the proposer, and the mayor will be removed on the 23rd of this month.
With all protocols observed?
Yes, with all protocols observed. The council or the programming, or let's say the council has got its own calendar. And by the 9th of this month, all motions should have been submitted by the 9th of November. Then a programming meeting will then sit between the 14th and the 15th. I don't have the exact date, but I think it's the 14th.
Mid-December.
November. Then it will sit to look into the motion. Then if the motion is admissible, it will then go through and serve in council on the 23rd of November. And there is no reason why it should not be admissible. The reason why I'm saying there should not be a reason why it should not be admissible is because the issues that were there we have been removed. Because the main issue was
asithethe for ilunga lethu siyithethe that sithetha that cela uyithethe le ndaba ithethe.
Okay. Ngokomthetho akuvumelekanga ubana thina as councillors we can go and debate in council about a matter that is sitting in front of the courts. Uba ngaba linto is a court asikwazi uxoxa ngayo.
Is it a case of sub judice?
Yes. Now what then happened in this particular case, I want to take you back. When the motion of no confidence against Dr. Palate was first submitted, it was when we also submitted the motion of no confidence against the then speaker over Scott Agama. Now into eyenzekayo ke za approve zombini i programming committee. Xa approve zombini, MMC Ngobeni from Action SA. What no? Ayikwazi uba inga-approve leka mayor because one of the items enithetha ngazo apha as a field band is sitting with the courts. So can't be discussed. And nobody knew about that. Then the committee took a decision. The members of the legal team must go and look into this. Bawubheka a court
kwenzeka
ntoni about this case. Then if indeed it's a court,
ikhona lento,
then the motion will then be removed. It won't serve in council. But ubangaba ayikho a court or it does not have an impact, then it will serve ku council. Now what then happened? That information was brought back to speaker at the time, Vasco Da Gama. Why fihla lo information to the councillors? Yokuthi case lena is actually dormant. Yes, it was opened, but it's dormant. Nothing is happening. So because it's dormant, we can go ahead. Then the motion could not serve on the day that Da Gama was removed. Because it was supposed to be removed on the same day too. Then after when we had the new speaker, we then found no, this information was given to the then speaker by the legal team because they report to him. But what decided why I feel. Now this motion was then admitted good programming committee again. Okay, because ayingelanga because of that.
Kodwa ke tata ngoba sikhuluma ngeloko naloko. Intoni yona lento? Intoni?
Okay.
Intoni?
Apha kunemali eyabhatalwayo ngumasipala kwi-NGO ekubizwa ngoba ngu-full band apho umeya Mashaba ngelo xesha owayengu-chairperson wa that NGO wabe uDr Palatse engu-MMC yena wakwa-Health and Social Development. So ngoku ingena apho ke lento ukuthi
conflict of interest
a conflict of interest. Yabona. So that was the issue, and public protector then found against Udade Mashaba
and implicate umama up.
Yes, that is where the problem is.
So what makes you sure Uti the matter will still stand even after the meeting here?
Yes.
Uti, this is still hanging, and you go to the court says it's not urgent. No. It can wait.
Okay. No, what we've done, we've removed anything in that motion that has the potential yokuthi ingaswa court, or it can serve in Section 79 committees, because umthetho wapha uthi if a matter iku Section 79 committee, it can serve with council. Ubangaba is a court, you can also serve it in council. So we've removed all those issues. Our focus are more especially local issues of service delivery.
Service delivery. I want to know from your own constituents. Mawuthetho ekhaya apha banbiza bathi awu bafethu sankhetha for lokhu nalokhu. Isimo simoshakele ekhaya. Service delivery is highly impacted to, I don't know, appalling state. So how do we make it possible that whilst we have a fight, we mustn't disturb service delivery, because of that one is enshrined within the Constitution to say service delivery must never be impacted. So senza kanjani tata as multi-parties in this midst?
Tina, our view is that I come from a political party, ATM. And in ATM, we term ourselves as servants. We don't call ourselves comrades.
And I'm saying the machine mala and that are we again?
Yes. The reason why we do not call ourselves comrades is because when you are a comrade, it means you must die for your comrade. Whether all right, no more wrong, but because it's a comrade, you must protect him. But when we're talking of a servant, we're saying we exist solely to serve the residents.
And at this time, the residents are affected, Tata.
Yes. And that is why we want to rectify the situation.
But in Komumshati, Waitato, yeah, Unekala, Wayego, Nekala. So, what is the way forward? I mean, tomorrow morning, you wake up to the DA that will come back and say the ATM is operating in bad faith. The ATM is part and parcel of what is tried within the city that we are there to say, stop it. But Mama Mabuya, no, stop the ANC and its partners taking the city because of they have an intention. And I don't know what are the unintended consequences of that. So you also have to come and say, but the mayor then stands on this type of a terrain. So, everybody has something to say about another person. Are we going to see the city sitting and the city going back to the world-class city? For there was glory at some point. Or were there certain things that were just, kept under the carpet? We don't know. Is the city bankrupt, Dada? Because all mayors never answered that one. All mayors are entertained. All mayors are asked, is the city bankrupt? The opposition will say, we are bankrupt, but when the opposition comes into power, the opposition changes the tone and say, we are not bankrupt, we are fine. The city is actually dealing on a dividend, surplus, that and that and that. So, what is the true status?
Okay. Before I answer that, let me answer what you asked first. And I'll answer that with a bit of a background. The ATM, it was one of Intlangano that were in coalition with the DA. And the reason why we're in coalition with the DA, as the ATM, we are a party that was not formed out of anger. Because a party to I lead Wangabantu who broke away from other parties. It's people up who joined ATM, or it was formed by people who were genuinely concerned about impilo zabantu. That's how ATM was formed. As a result, ATM, injongo yayo, is to ensure that we create a better tomorrow for the residents of the city of Johannesburg. As such, if there is any party, whether ANC or DA or EFF or Freedom Front Plus or COP or whichever party that is willing ukusebenzisana nathi to ensure ukuthi we service the residents, we are willing to work with that. That is why we're in a coalition with the DA. But we are no longer in that coalition right now. What happened?
Is it a separation?
Yes.
Or permanent? This is a situation that is irreconcilable, irrespective of how people can redeem themselves.
When...
Or we just in a state of politics?
You see what happened? When we were in that coalition, we realized, we are not in this coalition. The DA wanted to work with us not because they wanted to service the residents, but they wanted to work with us because they wanted us to be their voting cows.
Sacrificial lambs.
Yes, we just vote for them. And there's been many instances where I remember one incident. It was on the 23rd of June, when the ANC was going for a provincial conference. There was an item that as coalition partners, especially the minorities, were not in agreement now what it should serve for council, because we wanted to discuss it first as a coalition, so that when we go in there, we talk from the same page. But realizing that the ANC who is going to leave early before that item is voted for. The DA, through MMC Leonard, told us categorically clear, we do not need your vote on this item. Whether you vote with us or you don't,
it's immaterial.
This item is going to pass. Yes. Because they knew what numbers would favor them.
And that never happened.
We did not vote with them, and ya pass the item because they had the numbers on the day. Now, we then realized, you know what? Apa we sisebenza nabantu who are acting in bad faith. Abantu abafuna ukuzisa abantu from Cape Town to come and work and run the city of Johannesburg. As if abekho abantu aba capable in the city to run the city. I'll give you an example. It's more than 12 months now. It's been 12 months. And the city does not have a city manager. And the reason why the city does not have a city manager is because the DA wanted to bring in a city manager from the Cape to come here. And that city manager, even before the actual process of the negotiation, of the interviews, they made it a point to go to introduce her to the mayor. Already there's conflict of interest. Because you can't be a person in the panel, then you go and meet this person, the candidate. That happened because they wanted to remove Floyd Brink, who was the acting city manager at the time, but who was not in their books, and bring in this guy.
And it never happened.
It never happened, and the reason why it never happened, remember, from our side, we were not aware that there was this meeting that happened. But it so happened that Action SA knew about it. They knew that there was this meeting that happened. And they raised an alarm to say, no, why meet with the candidate? That is where problems started. We said, no, we can't have this person. But the DA wanted this person. They wanted this person with ngempilo yabo yonke. Why I'm sitting ngempilo yabo yonke? It's because the very same person, after she refused Lubana appointment at Johannesburg, was appointed in Tshwane, in a DA municipality as well.
So talking about Tshwane is also facing another situation.
Yes.
Where Action SA is raising the same problem.
Yes. Now, remember now when number one was not appointed, which was now this guy that they wanted to bring from the Cape. Number two was supposed to be then appointed, which was now Floyd Brink. Instead of appointing Floyd Brink, because Floyd Brink, the mayor issued an illegal instruction. There should be a service provider that should investigate Floyd Brink. And now that is an overreach. Because ngokomthetho, mayor is not supposed to instruct administrators on this matter. Which service provider should be appointed. Should not interfere with procurement processes. But that is exactly what happened. Because they wanted this person. So what I'm getting at, yinto ethi apha, EDA has got the mentality yokuthi anything that is black and not aligned to them is corrupt. The only time a person is not corrupt is when that person is aligned to the DA. Now, you then have a very serious question. You know, my constituents asked me a very honest question and a very important question to say, okay, we are not happy with what the DA is doing. But now you've got the ANC that we are not happy about in terms of the alleged corruption. Now, how do we deal with that? And my response was simple. You've got one on the left, a party that inherently hates black people. The black people that are there, they want to use them.
So better the devil, you know?
Now, you cannot solve the issue of inherent hate, but the issue of corruption, you can deal with it because there are processes, there are systems in place that you can use to deal with corruption. So that is why we then said ANC will work with the ANC. But as well, remember now, this is not an ANC thing. The minorities came together. When the minorities came together, that, you know what, we want a government that will have balance of power, because the main problem is imbalance of power, where the party that has got the bigger numbers want to bully.
Yeah, Tata, time is of essence, and hey, ndifuna ukuthi no asidibhe apho. We're watching the space. You are now the famous person because of left, right, and center. I've been watching on the left, to the right, as Tata, the whole day are busy. It is that Aluta continua if it's appropriate, and let's hear the matters from Friday. Monday we'll probably have you back here to tell us the decision taken. And if there's any message as a parting shot to the constituents, what will the message be?
All that I want to say to the constituencies is that Tina, as ATM, we exist to serve them. We do not exist to serve ourselves. All we want from them is for them to support us.
Beautiful. Mogaetsu ATM, Tate Lubabalo Magwentshu. Mogaetsu ke beile sentle wa the ATM. Ke a go leboga papa. Go le jalo moretsi rena ke tse ba gwebi. Moretsi molatedi motsegetsi wa le kubula moratano 5.8 Modern Jazz Radio ke hamogela jalo 23 minutes to the hour 8. The Provincial Executive Committee and the PEC Mogaetsu of the South African Local Government Association in Salga in the Gauteng province, led by its chairperson, Councillor Jongisizwe Labati Mogaetsu, has convened its first annual provincial members assembly Mogaetsu, the PMA of the current term of local government 2021 to 2026 in Tshwane. The gathering is held under the theme promoting service delivery and good governance through ethical leadership, professionalism, and effective financial management. Chairperson Mogaetsu, Councillor Zongizizwe Labati, join me now via Zoom. Good evening and welcome to Jozi FM. All protocols observed.
Yeah, good evening. I would call in. My correct name is Jongizizwe.
Jonga, Esin Jonga. Yeah. Oh, Jabulela that.
Yes.
I'm sorry that yeah.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Now, let's talk us through the importance of this gathering. This is the first for the current term.
Sure. The leadership of the South African Local Government Association in Gauteng was elected between the 8th and the 9th of February. And of course, from that conference, there is a mandate that the conference gives to us as the leadership of the local government in Gauteng. And the constitution of the South African Local Government Association, SALGA as it is known, it actually compels us to convene what we call a provincial members assembly every year. And what really do we seek to do with this assembly? It is a gathering of the member municipalities, that is the municipalities across Gauteng. Firstly, some of the things that the members assembly aims to do is to ensure that we engage ourselves as municipalities on the work of SALGA through its program of action, because SALGA is an association that has been established to coordinate local government in South Africa to the extent of lobbying and advocating for adequate support for municipalities to be able to discharge its local government responsibilities. So through the program of action of SALGA, we are able to assess the extent to which we have been able to implement some of the initiatives that are helping our municipalities to do better. We know, Brakolen, that there's a serious challenge about the way in which municipality is doing and how local government is perceived in our communities. We are seen as a local government that is not really living up to the expectation of our communities. And this provincial members' assembly affords us that opportunity to say, how far have we went to implement initiatives that are helping our municipalities, which in turn improve service delivery. But also this assembly gives us an opportunity, Brakolen, to consider and also deliberate on some of the pertinent issues that affects local government, whether it's policy issues and any other topical issues, that are of an interest to the sector. A simple example, the issue of Auditor General South Africa, the concerning outcomes of financial management, supply chain, and our ability to report on our performance is a topical issue. When a municipality does not get a clean audit, we are all concerned. There's a new issue, the issue of the coalition. It's one of the issues of interest where we see instabilities in municipalities. And I think you were talking to one of the councillors in one of the municipalities, where we are seeing instabilities and constant changes in the local government, and that is not good for communities. And that is one of the issues SALGA has been discussing thoroughly today, to say, how do we make sure that we have properly coordinated and managed local government coalition that are not compromising the ability of municipalities to serve community members. The last point about the assembly is that it also seeks to generate new ideas that says, how do we make sure that SALGA as an association that has been formed to support the municipalities continue to play a meaningful role, so that we are able to build what we call capable developmental as well as sustainable local government.
Now, Honorable Chair, me and you knows that at the receiving end, the constituents are the citizens of this country, politically involved or not. And SALGA cannot just keep mum to the situation, because of, as we speak now, it's undesirable. So are we going to have SALGA coming in more strongly, more, with authority, if it takes that with a whip, to say it cannot, under any given circumstances, that your issues impact on the people on the ground?
Most definitely, as I said, the issue of coalition is now a topical issue, because SALGA has appreciated the impact that coalition brings into our ability to provide sustainable services. And obviously, our observation is that there are challenges, and those challenges, they affect our community. So the first thing that SALGA is doing, because we don't have the authority to dictate over political parties on how they must organize their coalition arrangement. However, SALGA has developed what we call a coalition management framework, which says to municipalities or other political parties, in an instance where you don't have an outright winner out of the local government elections, this is what we think you can form a coalition for purposes of stability. One, for instance, SALGA is saying parties that believe that they want to form coalition government, firstly, they must have a coalition agreement which talks to what are the principal values that binds those political parties. Linked to that, SALGA is saying unpack the programs, at least as a minimum a commitment to our communities to say that above the local government mandate, these are the strategic initiatives that we are going to do in order to drive development in the city. And that those commitments must then be exposed to the public so that the public is able to hold the coalition government accountable on the plans and programs that they have committed. Today, there was a further discussion, for instance, that says, how do you form coalition? You have parties that have a larger seats, you have parties that have small seats, but of course all the parties did not get the outright majority to govern. So does it make sense that for a party that has the majority seat, for instance, to be automatically given the responsibility of the executive mayor, wherein you also consider the issue of the deputy mayor and see how you then allocate other parties into the responsibilities at an executive? Of course, at a proportional level. And how do you ensure that as you form coalition, you also don't compromise the legislature insofar as oversight and scrutiny is concerned? Because when you form government, as just one party with the new reality, probably you can't take everything to yourselves, but allow legislature to be able to ensure checks and balances. And those are the discussions that SALGA has really been seized with as part of enriching the coalition management framework. So we will be going to municipalities to canvass this framework because we believe that it provides at least a basis from which hung municipalities can be able to form functional and accountable coalition for the benefit of the people, not necessarily for the benefit of political parties, insofar as sharing positions, which at any point in time, those positions can be lost. But coalitions must be to the benefit of our communities.
Now, if you were to put a barometer of service delivery, checking its impact, what is your reading out there?
Well, I will be subjective if I were to put my personal barometers, because there are lots of gains that have been registered in local government, in the past terms, and we can't downplay the good achievements by local government. But the current assessment, which is exacerbated by instability as a result of hung municipalities where you don't have outright winners. The assessment of SALGA is that despite the fact that we've made good gains, it appears to us that service delivery is spiraling down at local government. We are no longer enjoying the provision of sustainable and uninterrupted provision of services. There's a lot of potholes, you see water leakages, sanitation spillages, and to some extent, in addition to the challenges of load shedding, municipalities themselves are unable to ensure that they deal with the issue of energy interruption. So people still continue to complain about electricity. People still continue to complain about roads. So I'm saying to you, as of our current assessment, it appears to us that the level of service delivery is spiraling downwards. And one of the challenges is that municipalities, they do not have the enough financial resources to deliver. The other challenge is that is the issue of poor political leadership and weak administrative leadership. We must accept. And the fact that our infrastructure at local government is collapsing simply because we have not invested enough in the maintenance of our infrastructure. Of course, the backlog is too huge, but we should be seen moving a step further.
Now, I just want to find out, how far do you go as SALGA in as far as engaging the utility like Eskom? Because of this long-standing issues that are historical and all that. Is there a part that SALGA takes in negotiations, or maybe, trying to smooth the environment?
Yeah, SALGA has been proactive to engage Eskom on behalf of municipalities. For instance, The mandate of distributing electricity to households, that is the mandate ordinarily that should be performed by municipalities, right? So that they take full responsibility of distributing to individual households, including taking responsibility of fixing or repairing the infrastructure that is involved in the distribution process. But that will also help municipalities to consolidate on the revenue generation. We are also equally engaging ESCOM not to be rigid to our municipalities who are struggling to service their ESCOM account. Of course, we don't encourage municipalities to default or municipalities to experience an increase in the amounts that they owe to ESCOM. But we do engage ESCOM to say that be considerate, be lenient, because at the end of the day, you are actually suffocating municipalities from providing the much needed service of electricity to community members. So there are those interventions of which are largely, on dialogue as opposed to exacting a particular authority over ESCOM, because SALGA does not have the authority to say to ESCOM, do this, don't do that. But SALGA can engage ESCOM as a critical stakeholder and on behalf of municipalities to say, municipalities are faced with financial difficulties and be lenient to them as and when they owe you for the electricity debt.
How binding are your recommendations? And somehow you perceive to just be a toothless barking dog.
Well, that is not true because SALGA as an association that coordinates local government is recognized by the constitution of the country. And of course, we believe in leadership. And leadership, simply put, is our ability to influence for the right decisions to be taken and for the right path to be followed. So SALGA continues to influence through supreme logic. SALGA continues to influence through methodologies that are researched, which, if implemented by municipalities, are helpful. For instance, we have a program on the municipal audit support program. That program is very helpful to municipalities to improve their audit performance, which in turn brings about the public confidence. So it is more of putting a convincing case for municipalities to rally behind the ideas, suggestions, programs, and initiatives as proposed by SALGA. But we equally rely on the COCTA itself, to embrace some of the approaches and methodologies that SALGA is coming with for municipalities to adopt them. The last point probably on this issue is that SALGA is heavily involved in the review of the legislation that affects the work of local government, in that all the things that makes it difficult for local government to function, those things must be put aside so that we have a functional and efficient local government. So we can't really underscore the role of SALGA on the basis that its recommendations and decisions are not necessarily binding. But overall, the impact that SALGA is making in supporting municipalities does yield results one way or the other.
Now, coming out of this gathering, what do you want to see addressed and well tackled immediately with no excuses?
Coming out of this gathering, firstly, we want to generate pragmatic and realistic ideas that will enable local government to accelerate the provision of sustainable services. We continue, for instance, to ask our national government to pump in adequate financial resources into local government, because that is the sphere which is closest to the people. Coming out of this provincial members' assembly, we want to ensure that local municipalities are actually properly positioned to deal with the issue of local economic development. In fact, municipalities must be the drivers of local economic development so that we are able to deal with inequality, unemployment, and poverty, because it is us at local government that are interfacing with these triple challenges. Coming out of this provincial members' assembly, we want to make sure that all our municipalities in Gauteng, they understand that they cannot operate without meaningful community involvement in such a way that any IDP and the budget that is approved, it's an budget, or rather an IDP that speaks to the pressing needs of our communities. If communities say to us, we want roads, we want you to deal with electrification of informal settlement, that is what the outlook of our budget and IDP should be, not to give them something that they did not ask. And what we want to come out with out of this provincial members' assembly is the fact that we need to tighten up and really entrench this thing called ethical leadership, both at the level of public representatives as well as the administrative leadership, because local government, there is a narrative, qualified or not qualified, that says that it has the highest level of corruption, maladministration, and fraud that is taking place. And we need ethical leadership that is determined to root out any form that undermines the credibility of local government.
Chairperson Councillor Jongisizwe Tlhabati, thank you so much for coming through, and go back to the meeting, and we'll get an update maybe Monday. Thank you.
No. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We'll certainly do that.
Thank you. Moretsi re fetsa jalo re bua le mokanselara Mogai santse ba mekamekana le kgang ya go kopana jalo the Provincial Executive Committee of the South African Local Government Association, Salga Mogaitshu, in the Gauteng province, led by Chairperson. I just spoke to Chairperson, Councillor Jongisizwe Mogaitshu Tlhabati, and has convened its first annual Provincial Members' Assembly in the PMA of the current term of local government 2021 to 2026 Kotwani. Gathering Mogaitshu is held under the theme Promoting Service Delivery and Good Governance through Ethical Leadership, Professionalism, and Effective Financial Management. Rejalo Mogaitshu ana tlhagisa kgang ya gore ya go ntse go le jalo fela ba na le matshwenyego a gore go le jalo Mogaitshu, there's a hit e le gore e bonagala jalo in the coalition set up, where they got to sit down, rectify these issues, check the agreements, abide by them, no conflict of interest, no bullying of any other person, but to sit down and really check the nitty-gritties of the engagements they get into. We'll get posted on these issues as time goes by. As we know, Mogaitshu, hey, coming back to the city, the earlier conversation that I had, Mogaitshu, earlier on, Kibuali, the ATM, Mogaitshu, that has nothing to do with money machines, but we're talking about the political party that is in the city of Johannesburg that is raising all issues, Mogaitshu. Don't forget, actually, they were, in good terms at some point with the DA until such issues, they turn around with ugly head of operation in bad faith, according to them, as I allege, and becoming more professional on this issue to say issues are there and there's other issues pending that are in courts that are just sub judice, then cannot be used to oust anybody until those matters are rectified. And that's why I asked a long question, even Lahaho Kabare decision, if the matter still stands, that means that cannot be effected. The issue of ousting the mayor. We'll see Mogaitshu with the gathering ka freitaga gore what comes out of that gathering. Unarle batho Mogaitshu ra ntse re fela ka itlhor lebile ka tsebere tseya. Mere re ikakanya sentle Mogaitshu le ba le go ntse go le jalo e go fa nonofo e rileng politically, democratically, and otherwise, that you then know exactly the bigger animal that we are dealing with as in politics, to say inconsistencies that has been recorded
I don't know, when as a constituent, what do you do now when you're going to the polls to say what's going to really happen? Yeah. So you are going to be more smarter on these issues. So Prince Charles Kimone, yeah, I am a Jalo Prince Zozo, the first installment of So We Talk Tonight on an open line. And good evening and be well. God bless you.